Hello and welcome back to this video series.
Table Talk.
Table Talk is a super cash conversation about some Dungeons & Dragons concepts. Today, we're going to be talking about Gnolls, those beautiful dog boys. Let's jump into Reddit and take a look at what people are chatting about. Gnolls in other media. Alright, let's take a look. What do you got for me? Oh, loading. Australian internet. Here we go. Gnolls are probably most closely associated with Dungeons & Dragons, but they also appear as anthropomorphic hyenas in World of Warcraft. That is a hard word. That is a difficult word that should not exist. Okay, it's invented by someone named the Book of Wonder. I was wondering if they appear elsewhere and what they look like. Well, let's talk about what they look like in Dungeons & Dragons. Here's a beautiful little picture. Ooh, that's not a picture. There we go. This is what they look like, okay? They are hyena people, right? You've got tabaxi, which are cat people, and now we've got gnolls, which are hyena people. But the thing is, they've got a lot of rules here of the way gnolls behave, and I wouldn't expect gnolls to behave this way in other media, because they are pretty rough right here. They really like to get it done. They are demon spawn. They are literally roaming the world to eat, okay? That's all they care about. They are anger, they are hunger, and they are fear. That is what they work off. And they just eat and hunt and kill. They're like really evil. The book makes it clear that these are unredeemable demons, pretty much. They look like animals, they look like people, they look like creatures. They are demons. Hey everybody, it's Matt from the editing room. How you going? Well, I guess you can't respond. It's not that kind. Hey, on Patreon, we have this special PDF. This PDF called Gnarly Options for Gnolls. And it's going to make your Gnolls so much more frightening, terrifying even, in combat. It's going to give them special weapons, serrated, poison, flaming weapons. But also, there's some Gnoll-themed powers that you could give to your players. Like this spell that turns the player's face into a hyena face. So they get a bite attack on their turn. So cool. So this is available to patrons right now, and I really do depend on patron support. Thank you so much for your help. If you want to support the channel, please consider becoming a patron. All right, let's get back to it. But that's not how I remember them, because I've seen gnolls in other media, right? Check this out. This is a game called Suikoden. This is the second one. Now this is like an old JRPG, and there were gnolls in this game that were so cool. These guys could join your team. There's him, he's a bit scary. But look, this guy is a gnoll, and he's like a dog character. They're all different kinds of dogs. This guy, Genjin, he was so great. He was a scout. Oh man, sorry, I just got hit with nostalgia big time. This is such a beautiful game. And these characters were really like earnest, animalistic style people that lived in the forest. And a couple of them would join your team. Oh, Genjin. Oh, buddy, I remember this guy as well. This is how I remember gnolls. So when I encountered them as the big scary hyena people in Dungeons & Dragons, I was like, ooh, that's a bit sad. What, they've massacred my boy. What have they done to my boy? But in this Reddit thread, people are saying that they are from other places as well. Let's see, anybody mentioned Suikoden? Gnoll started as a joke hybrid of gnomes and trolls. Really? The hyena thing was invented later as it appeared in the first edition of the Monster Manual. Let's take a look at that. Is this how they looked back in the day? That's actually kind of cool. Deep dive, the gnoll. Hey, this guy's doing my job for me. Okay, good. There is scant information about the gnoll. What little we do get is a bit disturbing and pretty much a bad joke, described as a cross between gnomes and trolls. We are left to wonder how that would ever work. Let's look at the picture. Where are we? Beautiful. I like that gnoll. Beautiful. I like that gnoll. Beautiful. I like that gnoll. I don't think this one sparks joy. I don't like this gnoll. Everything else, cool. Is he doing push-ups? Look at this guy. Now that's the gnoll you can trust. Okay, let's just take away from this that gnolls aren't specifically from Dungeons & Dragons, and they aren't always necessarily hyena people, and they aren't always necessarily evil in other media. Let's see what else Reddit is talking about gnolls. What would happen if a gnoll got bitten by a werewolf? Well, for one, it would ruin its day. Oh no, I've been bit. Okay, so my players are playing a sort of Witcher D&D game, and they have met werewolves and gnolls. But is a gnoll werewolf possible? They are both cursed as far as I know. Would the curses cancel each other out? Please enlighten me. Thanks. Hey, don't thank me yet. I haven't answered your question, my friend. So, gnolls aren't really cursed, right? They are not people hyenas they are hyena people. Does that make sense? So a werewolf typically is a person, a humanoid person, that has been cursed and transforms into some kind of wolf-like creature. A gnoll was a hyena that ate of the meat of the demon lord, I can't really say his name, Yinhogyu? I'll show you a picture. I'll show you a picture of Yinhogyu. Yinhogyu. He looks kind of, well, not good. He doesn't look great. He's terrifying. So gnolls are hyenas that ate like the leftover meat of the carcasses when he went through and slayed everybody. And then they slowly transformed into these gnolls and they carry out his will out there in the world. And his will is mayhem. He's just going out there and say, please get out there, kill literally everything, eat literally everybody, and do you know what? Believe in yourself. He's got a doctrine of self-positivity. Everybody believe in yourself, all right? And also kill everything. But really, he's a super bad dude. Do not trust. Would not recommend. What are people saying? As far as I know, gnolls aren't actually cursed. Amen. Look at this. He's got the secret knowledge. Gnolls aren't cursed? Okay, everyone's just slamming this guy. They might have demonic origins, but they're just their own kind of humanoid. They would get the werewolf curse the same as normal. A gnoll would hardly see it as a curse, though. I actually kind of like the idea because the demon lord of the gnolls is asking them to go out there and hunt, okay? But werewolves, I can imagine, thinking about Skyrim, they have their own kind of impetus as far as hunting. They are obligated and incentivized to hunt by their moon mistress? I don't know how this stuff works. But imagine if there are two different forces pulling this creature to hunt, but for different ways. The gnoll is being pulled to hunt for mayhem, destruction, violence, and insatiable hunger. But for the werewolf, maybe it's some kind of different motivation. I can imagine that maybe this would be a way for the werewolf to kind of break their link with their demon lord and instead tether their hunting to a different purpose. This would be a very cool player character for a gnoll. What can I do to spice up a gnoll boss fight? This is going to be my group's second session. They're almost guaranteed to run into a single big bad gnoll armed with a longbow. What are some tips to make the fight a little more interesting against a balanced party of 3 first levelers? Ooh. Would it be cool to add a function where the gnoll hits with his longbow, the target has to succeed on a strength saving throw, or be pulled a certain amount of feet towards the gnoll with like a rope arrow? Now, are gnolls really appropriate for a first level party? You know, they might be. Let's bring up the stats again. So, gnolls are a CR 1 out of 2 here. So you could have 2 gnolls for a balanced fight. You know, maybe 3. They've got a lot of hit points, and they've got like a relatively high armor class for a first level party. The thing is, gnolls have this ability called Rampage. So when a gnoll drops a creature to 0 on their turn, then they can use a bonus action to move half their speed, which is they can move 15 feet, and then they get to make a little bite attack at something. So for me, that says that when a gnoll team starts to win, suddenly they are more likely to keep winning. Because suddenly, we dropped your boy, now we're going to drop your girl, then we're going to drop your dad, and then we're going to drive you all to the morgue and say, I don't know what happened to these people. But I do like the idea of a gnoll boss in a fight, because some of these later gnolls do have a bit of synergy with their abilities. So this gnoll pack lord has the Incite ability, which it's not a very good ability, but what it does is it uses its action to incite another gnoll within range to use its reaction to make a melee attack. And that can be kind of cool, because if you imagine that they're in a situation where the pack lord is further away, and then maybe there's a gnoll up in the wizard's face, like 60 feet away, right? And the wizard's close to death, so the pack lord goes, "You, gnoll in the back, believe in yourself and bite that wizard." I don't think that's how they sound. But he bites him and he drops him, and then he goes, "Oh, I bit him. Oh, I dropped him. Oh, cool. Now I'm going to go bite someone else. Ha ha ha. I'm so glad that I'm a gnoll." Rawr. This is the worst video. But gnolls have power levels all the way up. They have stat blocks in Volo's guide and in the monster manual that are going to bring them up to every level. You could have really complex, rich encounters with a party of gnolls. I don't know if that will apply that richness to a first level party, because what you'll do is you'll murk them, you'll kill them. That said, the idea of giving your boss a special ability like this rope arrow is very cool. And I like this, because if you think about it, this rope arrow isn't necessarily very powerful. It's not very powerful unless you have like some hazards on the battlefield. Imagine he's trying to pull them into spike traps, and maybe when the party arrives onto the field, they go, why are all these spike pits here? It doesn't make any sense. We can just walk around them. And then as soon as the rope gets pulled face first into a big spiky pit of death, should have dodged. Should have dodged, my dude. So I am all for giving baddies special abilities for special occasions. PC Gnoll. It's probably going to ask if you can play a Gnoll character. Is there any official guide on playing a Gnoll in 5th edition? All I can do to find online is homebrew, and my DM won't go forward with the race unless there is something official. Okay, so I'm on this podcast called No Plan, No Problem. We recorded an episode about Gnolls recently, and we talked about this. That's why I'm talking about this now, because I've still got Gnolls on the brain. And when we talked about it, one thing that I think we missed is that we didn't realise that there are Gnolls in Eberron. So let's take a look at the Gnolls in Eberron and see if there's a playable race or something. I don't see any bloody Gnolls here. Gnomes? Wouldn't have thought so. What do we got? Gnolls. In ancient times, the Gnolls were servants of the fiendish overlords. Some are savage creatures that remain in the thrall of these demons, but the largest populations of Gnolls is in this place, and these Gnolls purge themselves of demonic influence. Okay, so they are doing what I would suggest you do for a kind of playable Gnoll, in that you change what Gnolls are in your world, because if they are largely gonna be big, evil, rampaging hyena people, you are not gonna have a good time. You are gonna straight up have a bad time, because then you have one Gnoll that's in the party, and every other Gnoll in the world is a demonic thrall. Every NPC that meets that character is going to be like, yeah, you have a monster in your party. And that is not a storyline that I'm particularly interested in telling. Because there can be a little bit of trouble when you draw lines between, okay, what is a monster and what is a person in D&D, right? I would say that goblins are people, right? But the D&D books are really painting Gnolls as monsters. They're saying, no, they are compelled to eat supernaturally. They don't really have a society, a sense. They have roaming packs that they hunt, and that is all they do. They are monsters. But as soon as you go, now somebody is playing that creature, well, now you cannot have that race be monsters anymore. You need to turn them into people with a bit more nuance. So maybe there are factions. There's this faction that is still under the thrall of the demon lords, and there's this other faction that are functionally people, and people walking on the street would see them and go, look, there is a Gnoll. I know that this Gnoll is not going to be crazy and evil and kill me, because not all Gnolls are like that. Mathematically, though, there is no official stat block. So pretty much just take any other stat block and then re-flavor it. Keep the numbers and then just change the ability. And that is our table talk about Gnolls. Everybody downstairs here, everyone in this big old list, these are my patrons. I'm so grateful, patrons. Thank you so much for hanging out. I really appreciate your support. If you want to check out my podcast, No Plan, No Problem, it is in the bottom right. You can check out our Gnolls episode down there. And I guess this is just the end. If you want to see specific content from this table talk series, let me know. And we'll see how we land. Cheers, buddy. Bye-bye.